is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Got to hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third. And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straight away three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
All right, it's Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That means it's time for the San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Eidsmoe, coming in alongside me here. We got Justin Smead. Justin, how's it going, man?
Good, buddy. Good.
Also joining us via Skype, we got Mike Maciejewski from AztecsHoopsNation.com. Mikey, how's it going?
Great, man. Glad to be on here today.
And we got the return of Jake Hefner. Jake, how's it going, man?
I'm doing fantastic, and just, as Mikey says, fantastic to be on, or he's happy to be on here today. I am equally as happy to be on here today because I know that we're about to get into a knockdown, drag-out type of a show. It's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome, and we will get to that, but we do have a little bit of business to take care of before that. First of all, let's start out. The Chargers did lose to the Carolina Panthers 28-16. If anybody wants lottery picks.
Predicted by Jason Eidsmoe and Justin Smead on the Chargers pregame show, when you can catch that at Sunday morning, 9 to 10.
Thank you, Justin. Plug. We did both predict that. However, my score was closer because I predicted they'd lose 27-17, so I was within 1 point both ways.
Bob, you guys are coming around.
Yeah, I know. My
second week in a row.
My rose-colored glasses are gone. I lost them because one of the times that the Chargers fumbled the ball, I threw them on the ground and smashed them. I don't have any rose-colored glasses anymore. Melvin Gordon looked like he almost got his leg broke off. He injured his hip and his knee on, on a fumble, trying to recover the fumble. Got carted off the field. We might luck out and get him back over maybe the last 2 games. I'd love to see him. I know it doesn't matter, and people say, maybe he has a bonus in his contract. I just like to see him get 1,000 yards because I think he's run so damn hard this year. So I'd like to see him come back, get those last 3 yards to get the 1,000 yards. Joey Bosa, did his best Jaleel Day impression and almost knocked himself silly. Hurt his neck. We lost him for the game. Hopefully he's going to be back. Craig Mager, who's hurt his elbow. We lost him.
Are you souring on this boy, dude?
I'm not souring.
You should be the most distraught person in San Diego right now that Craig Mager got hurt.
Let me tell you, you missed it on the pregame show because one of the things I was saying is I've really been disappointed in he's had an opportunity. Not that he's played terrible. He hasn't played terrible, but he certainly hasn't played good. He's played way too tentatively, and he's allowing such a big cushion. The game before that against the Bucs, all they did was they said, "Where's 29? Let's throw the ball. Whoever 29 is guarding, because we get 7 to 15 yards on every single play." Craig Mager's the least of our problems here, though.
Sure.
Jake Hefner's boy, Tenny Palapoy, who was probably having the best season of his career. Maybe we understand why. He got suspended for 4 games.
Good memory.
So,
Good.
Jake Hefner's been beating the Tenny Palapoy drum for 3 years now, and we've been so excited with what we've seen from him this year. But,
look, dude, this season's been so bad we got to laugh to keep him crying. So.
And then
I'll go as far as to even say it is, it was actually for Tenny, it was actually my first article for what site was it that I was writing for at that particular point in time?
Pro Football Spot.
Thank you very much. See how long it's been. It's been way too. That was the first. It was the first article that I had gotten a chance to write on Tenny, and it was for ProFootballSpot.com, and it was actually my first time actually getting a chance to go out there and interview the players throughout training camp. So that has a little bit of a nostalgic feel and irony behind everything else that's happened this week.
The thing about Palapoy getting suspended, I say, I don't care. The fact that he's trying to get the edge, good for him. Too bad he got caught, I guess.
So you take the Bill Belichick, if you're not cheating, you're not trying mentality.
You have to, or you're not going to win. That's the bottom line. I am a different Jason than I was at the beginning of the season. That's for sure.
You're pissed.
Brandon Flowers to IR, which was I'm surprised it took this long. I'm happy that they did it. To be honest with you, he was having a really, really strong season when he was in there, but ultimately, the guy. It was an ugly looking concussion, and ultimately you worry about him. I know Jake has always been real. The concussions have always really bothered you, Jake. I know that, and you've always talked about how important it is to make sure these guys are okay. So the Brandon Flowers to IR, I'm sure you were not happy to see that he's on IR, but you think you agree with the move. I'm pretty sure of.
100%.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about. We could sit here and we could break down why the Chargers lost, but that's boring. We can't do that anymore. We're doing that every week. So we're going to discuss something this week, and there's a lot of talk in the chat room about Chris Hunter's bringing up the NFL meetings. We will get to that. Chris Hunter also happened to say Mager sucks. Thank you, Chris. He thinks that the title of the show is "Where Does the Blame Lie?" The blame for him lies with McCoy, and we're going to get to that as well. We're going to get to the coaching. We're going to get to all of that, but we need to start out with Phillip Rivers. I got into an interesting discussion on Twitter. I got bullied around and ganged up by Mikey and Hal. 2-on-1. Phillip
Welcome
Rivers
to my
discussion.
world last week.
I know it was pretty interesting, and so we're going to go ahead and give Mike the opening statement here on Phillip Rivers. Is the reason why we're losing, the reason why we can't make the playoffs, the reason why we can't have a winning season, do those fall all on the shoulders of number 17, Mikey? Oh, come on. I promise you I did not disconnect him.
Speechless. He has nothing left to say because
you've battered the man so bad that he
has talked himself to death. Lost his voice.
Mike just chimed in the
has
chat room.
Nothing left.
I'm right here.
Oh,
I couldn't. Hey, I'm here. Cutting off on me, guys. Sorry. Is it Phillip Rivers' fault?
Yes.
I don't know. There's a lot of blame to go around, guys. Honestly. But
let's start with Phillip Rivers because we have other things to discuss. But I want to. Right. I know not in the San Diego Sports Junkies tradition. I want to try and stay focused on one topic before we move on to the coaching staff. So let's start with Phillip Rivers.
Is it his fault that we're losing? He's playing worse. Can you guys? 2 weeks ago we were like, you guys came out and all said he's playing terrible. He's got to change it, and arguably he played worse this week. Everybody's, you see local media, they're saying this is the worst game Phillip Rivers has played.
Worst game for me was the Miami game. Miami game was the worst game I've ever seen.
That's just what that's what I heard on 1090. The 1 second Hal passed me a video clip, which was great. I honestly, guys, I think this, if he continues playing this way, I think this could be the moment we look back and go, man, that's where the decline started. Honestly, he's looked disinterested. He's thrown
Disagree with that. Disinterested. Keep going.
All right. Okay, he's thrown crap interceptions. He's thrown I don't care. Just throwing them out.
I don't don't care, but he has thrown crap interceptions.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
You give the man the opening statement. Give him the opening statement.
You have every right to be wrong, Jason. It's okay.
Thank you.
You know, and I mean, some of these passes are ridiculous, and his excuse is like, I'd rather throw it up than throw it away, you know, and not in those exact words, but to the extent is that he's just making poor decisions and has no repercussion for them. He's just like, whatever. And that's what I'm not okay with that. Like, it's not okay to just say, I'm going to throw it up and you know, make bad passes, because again, when someone else drops a fumble, you guys are on them. You're yelling at, you know, you guys are passionate. Philip Rivers throws 4 picks in a quarter. You know, you guys get upset, but not the same way. Let's like I said, I'm seeing a different Philip Rivers. I'm seeing.
Oh, we lost Mikey. I promise you I didn't cut him off, guys. I promise you I didn't cut him off, but I am going to go ahead and go next. A couple things that I want to say, and I did see a lot of that stuff on Twitter. I saw a lot of people talking about that. First thing, when he says he's gonna throw it up and try and make a play before throwing it away, what would people be saying if he was throwing the ball away and he was just dinking and dunking and doing that? Everybody would say all he's doing is padding his stats. You know, when you say he's throwing the ball up trying to make a play, and then you also say he's being selfish, those two things don't go together. If Philip Rivers is being selfish, what he's doing is if the play's not there, he's going to be throwing it away, and all he's going to be is dinking and dunking and padding his stats, and that's not what he's doing. Another thing is
Alex Smith does that. Alex
Smith has a lot better players around him. That's why he can do that. Philip Rivers can't do that. They don't have enough good players around him. When you say you can't,
you're right.
You can't have it. You can't have it both ways with. You can't have it both ways with Philip Rivers.
Better off the line, Mikey. Better coached.
You talk about him, you know, you say he's disinterested, and then the next week you say, look at him screaming and yelling and stuff on the sidelines. Which one is it? Is he disinterested or is he yelling and screaming? You know, I see a guy that's yelling and screaming. I personally like that. I like the fact that he's into the game. I like the fact that he's intense. Same thing people saw with Tom Brady. Anybody watch that game? Tom Brady threw a fucking fit on the sidelines. That's the way. I hate Tom Brady, but I'll tell you what, that's what I want to see out of my quarterback. I want to see stuff like that.
Or do you want to see Jay Cutler?
Yeah, or exactly. You know, or even Eli, you know. That type of stuff frustrates me because those are guys who look disinterested. Philip Rivers, when you say disinterested, Mikey, that is, I couldn't disagree with you more. He does not look disinterested. Now, throwing the ball into places he shouldn't be? Absolutely. Making bad decisions? Absolutely. Those things are happening. Is it because his skills are declining? Maybe a little bit. Are they declining to the point where it's time to move on? To me, it's the fact that there is absolutely nothing around him. And it's not because they haven't built a good team. It's because there's nobody left. Everybody else is gone. And then the fact that we lose our you know, one of the bright spots, #focal point, you know, goes down to a knee and hip injury, makes me, I just had to laugh. What else can you do? He lost yet another weapon on that offense. So what's left out there for him to do? You know? Jake, you want to go next? What are your thoughts on Philip Rivers?
Yeah, you kind of touched on a little spot there, Jason, because you're talking about, you know, would you rather have it one way or would you rather have it another way? And this is the beauty part about the NFL fan base as a whole, is that there's always two different perceptions that people look at it from one side or the other, from the good or the bad or whatever they perceive the good or the bad to be. And I had messaged Mikey and Troll over, you know, shortly after following the game. And I said that, you know, there has been, we're not so black and white in our opinions anymore. There's a little bit that we're in the gray about. But at the same time, there are still things that we are drastically opposed to. And when I say that, you know, you look at the game that Philip Rivers had against Carolina, 5 total turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, yes. But from the opening snap of the first series of this game, you already knew where this game was going. Constant penetration from a Carolina defense that has played subpar without their vocal leader in Luke Kuechly. And they came off an embarrassing shellacking against Seattle the previous week. They were coming home. They had something to prove. And your team, specifically your offensive line, was not ready. Now, before Mikey jumps on me, I am not absolving Phillip Rivers for the mistakes that he's made because of the way the offensive line performed. But I'll tell you this, Mikey. If you take Alex Smith or you take Marcus Mariota, which Troll loves so much that he wanted to trade up for, and you take Tom Brady and you take any of the best quarterbacks that are in the league and you put them behind our offensive line.
With our receivers.
You may not get the exact same results, but you will get turnovers. I guarantee it. And if you put Phillip Rivers behind an offensive line that is that of the Dallas Cowboys or the Tennessee Titans or the Kansas City Chiefs, you will get better results. I don't care who the receivers are. But at the same time, you could say that Phillip Rivers is the absolute reason, especially these last several weeks, that we have lost games. Yes, you could say that is a true statement. You could put the blame on his shoulders and he will gladly accept it. But at the same time, he is still, as of now, especially with Melvin Gordon out of the roster, he is still your best opportunity to win a game. Who are you going to yank him for? You going to yank him for Kellen Clemens? Who are you going to put in the quarterback at this particular point in time?
I will agree with you guys about I will agree with the line. I mean, I heard Niall Diggs, saying that the offensive line looked unprepared completely. But according to Jason, who tweeted me the other day, all those audibles, they're just line protections. So really, let's get some, if he's doing the line protections.
What I'm saying is, it's ridiculous for people to say he's up there changing the play on every single play. That's what people say. And then your argument back to me was he said he has the ability to change plays. I never said he does not have the ability to change plays. I never said he does not have the ability to change plays. I know that. I know he's been in the league long enough. Okay. But because he's up there barking signals does not mean he's changing. Everybody thinks, oh, this guy's looking to pass his stats, so they're calling runs and he's up there changing them to a pass.
So when Judson asked him, he says, "Isn't it? People think you can go up there, that you're up there changing plays." And says, "Tell everybody you're not." Did Phillip Rivers say no? No, he didn't.
Why does he have to?
He
didn't say he was.
Okay.
I listened.
Well, I mean, since Jason, you know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing.
You make this jump. Where do you make this jump? That's what you think. It's your perception.
I know. The only thing I can go by is what Nick Hardwick has said. And Nick Hardwick is the one who said he's up there making protection calls. That's what 99% of the stuff he's hollering up there and pointing around and stuff. It's protection calls. It's not, let's turn this run into a pass. That's not what he's doing. I'm not the one. I didn't just make that up out of thin air.
Maybe he called bad protection calls this week?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly.
That's what I'm saying.
Or possibly the guys the protection calls that he called, the guys did not do their job.
Possibly.
That's a possibility as well, right?
Agreed. Both of them are possibilities.
Okay.
I just want to be open to both. I just want you guys to, don't make these jumps like it's one way or another. Let's be open to both.
Sure.
That was the reasoning for my opening statement, is that this is the beauty part, is that we all have different points of view on this. And one way or another, each thing, whether it can be positive looked by one person, can be negatively looked by another person. And this is universal. This is not just for the Chargers, as in the ninth circle of hell as we happen to be right now. But this is the way it is universally for every team. So that is just our point of perception. And it doesn't mean that one is correct or the other is correct. It's just that's our point of view.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I don't think that Phillip Rivers is a man that is disinterested whatsoever. Even for the fact that some of his plays have been turnovers. Given what was happening throughout that game, losing your starting running back, your offensive line just full of holes almost every single time out. I'd rather take a guy that's trying to do something and trying to win the game and make something happen with what little he has around him than a Jay Cutler who's completely oblivious to any type of situation. That is a quarterback that I would rather have.
Now, one thing that we do have to remember right now is we're all treating Justin like he's Josh, and he hasn't had an opportunity to say anything.
Poor guy fighting our heads off over here. He hasn't even had a word.
No, hey, it's okay. I like to hear the banter, man. This is
good. How's your beer?
I have an 805 this evening. It's nice.
Nice.
Yeah. I could go on about my beer. I try a different beer every Wednesday because I get to do the show and have a couple of beers, so it's nice.
What's your thoughts on Philip Rivers?
Well, overall, I really liked what Jake had to say about it. It's not because I love Jake, because I do love Jake, but I think it's because I think I love Philip Rivers too, and I've always been in defense of him. And not to just to call me a homer or lover, whatever. You can call me whatever you want. Mike, you can call me whatever you want. I've defended him till the start one. It was back in I think it was 2006. This guy plays with passion, for one. He will never, ever let you down in leadership. I don't care how terribly he's playing. The O-line played like shit on Sunday. It was a shit show from the get-go. And we knew, like Jake alluded to, it was going to be a long, long afternoon for Philip Rivers and the boys. It's funny, guys, how we last year said, oh, well, if we just had a healthy O-line. And here we are, week 15, 16, and the line's pretty much intact, guys. I mean, it's here. Pulley had to come in. I know they've mixed it a little bit, but it hasn't been like last year. And the continuity's been there for the most part, and it's let us down. It's been a big eye-opener for us this year. And I think Tom Telesco's probably scratching his head a little bit this year. He's probably going, what the hell's going on? Because he was thinking if he could get all 5 of these guys in there and healthy with the addition of Slauson, we all thought this was going to be a better season. I'm not saying that Philip Rivers is not making poor decisions. I blame him for a lot of these throws, but I think he's trying to put it on himself more than anything. When your lead running back goes down, you're running for your life. You're going to try to fit some balls into places you can't get them into, and just try to make a play. Go up and have the receiver, which he's been used to his entire career. With the talent he used to have, the Vincent Jackson of the world, the Malcolm Floyds of the world, the Chris Chambers of the world, whoever you want to say, they've all gone up and got the football for him. These guys cannot do that. Tyrell Williams maybe, but you can't throw it up to Dontrell Inman and expect a touchdown or a 50-yard gain. So he's just putting more on himself, guys. This is what happens when you're having a bad season, bad O-line, your star running back goes out. You're gonna make bad plays, and he had a shit game on Sunday, and I don't disagree with that.
I well said, by the way. One thing that I do want to get onto is I do want to talk about the coaching and the overall game plan decision, but before that, we do need to talk a little bit about this offensive line, because I've I approach this whole show, this whole thing that we do from a fan's perspective. I don't watch film. I'm not in the film room. I'm not breaking down stuff. I don't want to fool anybody and, pretend like I'm doing things that I'm not.
Kuiper.
All I do is I watch the game. Now, I do focus on certain things, and I've been kind of beating the drum on the fact that our tackles have been playing so poorly and our guards aren't playing as bad as I thought. So I can't tell you about all the other games because I haven't actually sat and focused on them, but I focused on the middle of the line during this game, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I actually tweeted during the game, the only person who's not going to be absolutely embarrassed when they're watching film is Matt Slauson. He's the only guy out there who looked like he was doing anything. DJ Fluker looked totally lost. And I'm not talking about, it's almost like he's being tricked. Because if you notice he's getting beat, he's usually about a half step too late. It's like these stunts are just fooling him. And I don't know if it's been that way. Maybe Jake can help out here. If that's the way it's been all year long, or if this was just one really, really, really poor game from him, because I like DJ Fluker. I love his attitude. I love his fire. But holy shit, he looked like he did not belong on the field in this game. And I'm watching this game going, maybe this whole DJ Fluker at guard experiment is just maybe we need to push him back out to tackle, because this guard thing is not working. Jake, do you have a little bit more insight on the interior of the offensive line for the Chargers?
It's such a combination of things. Really, all 5 guys, literally. There isn't one guy that we can. When normally we point to the tackles and Dunlap and Barksdale, and we give some credit to the middle part of the line. Every single offensive lineman in this game literally had problems. And I like how you brought up the whole factor is maybe it's not working for Fluker at guard, but then again, shit. it can't really be that much worse for if he was to go back to tackle and replace the play of Joe Barksdale that's been the entire season. So maybe that's not a bad idea. But, you look at some of your high investments in Orlando Franklin, who, will show up sparingly. It's just he's not as consistent as he was in Denver. And who knows what that really is reliant to. I think maybe we have to give some thought that at the time that Orlando Franklin was dominant in Denver, he was also playing next to one of the best left tackles in the league at that point in Ryan Clady. And we definitely know that King Dunlap is not Ryan Clady. So there could be some things that defenses are finding in that circumstance. We've all seen the story on DJ Fluker. Every one of us loves him just because of his passion and his personality for the game, and it's great to have an offensive lineman that's like that. But maybe we have to start coming to the realization that maybe that's not the answer. I think we've decided and we've seen enough of the Dunlap and Barksdale experiment because that has been horrendous throughout, game one of this entire year. And Matt Slauson, despite this being probably one of his worst games that he had showing this year, I think you can build an offensive lineman around him. I think has changed the attitude of that offensive line. I think he's definitely bettered it for Melvin Gordon and the running game. So again, we have all 5 guys that we started with at the beginning of this season. Unfortunately, the play of key guys at certain key points in time have rapidly declined, and they cost you plays, they cost you series, which eventually those little things build up into big things. And you end up losing games because of it.
Mikey, any thoughts on the offensive line? Do you agree with what Jake said? Do you have anything to add to that?
They've just been terrible. And, like Justin said, we thought if we had them all healthy, they'd be good. They haven't been. We had big hopes for Franklin. I was really excited about Franklin, especially what he had done the year before in the run game and protecting for noodle arms, and and we know he's not mobile, so you thought, he's going to do great, but no, you're right. And Jake brings a good point. He had Clady next to him, and maybe that was it. And I believe they lost Clady his last year in Denver as well, so he still played well, and you haven't got that from him. Fluker, I don't know what happened after his rookie year. It's like a whole different guy, I don't know. The line's just terrible, and I see everybody saying, draft the offensive line every single round. And actually, I'm not even against that idea right now. Obviously Slauson's there. I like Turk in college. I know he's going to take some time, but the line's terrible, and it's been something we've been talking about all the time. And I still hate Barksdale. I think Barksdale's garbage because he gets penalties all the time, and he's just not. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's mentally tough right there in the line, and you need to be. So
it's people question these guys mentally or how much they're trying. Sometimes they're just bad. Sometimes they just suck, and maybe that sometimes is the answer, that if a guy's getting run by, it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he sucks, I mean, if you put me out there and you said you got to protect Philip Rivers, man, I would try as hard as I can, but the guy get run by. That's just the way it is. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm as good as Barksdale. I'm probably not quite as good as him.
80%.
I want to throw a question at Justin. I want to stick on the offensive line, and something that just came to me. We're all talking about Orlando Franklin and how we were so excited when we signed him and we brought him over. And I know he's had some injuries, but he's been so underwhelming. And if Jake might actually have to help out with this too, but I'm going to ask you first, Justin. I believe it was almost right around the time where they started changing the rules a little bit about the way you can block. And I know in Denver, the cut block was a huge part of their offensive line. And he comes to San Diego, and they've kind of changed those rules a little bit. You can't just do the way your offensive line can't be the same way as it was when he played in Denver. Do you think that that's part of it? Maybe a big part of his game is gone, and now he just doesn't have the skills to be a regular offensive lineman?
There's no way. I mean, you either have the skills to be an offensive lineman in the National Football League or you don't. I mean, the guy's massive. I know the technique they used in Denver. I know what you're alluding to, but that shouldn't have any bearing on working on new techniques that the rules call for. You should be able to still do your job. I mean, that's just my opinion. If you're getting paid that money and you were there for a reason, you got drafted by the Broncos and you played at a high level, and you got your big free agent money by the Chargers, you should come in here and do your fucking job. Just do it. Don't. That's just making excuses. And for me, it is though. It's making excuses. If it was a cut block or whatever, it's just that's an excuse. And for me, I'm along the same lines as Mikey. I think first round pick, at pick 12, you go offensive line, you trade back into the first round, you get another tackle. I mean, we have to literally revamp this line next year. I mean, I don't know if you don't have to skin it. I mean, I'm saying like 3 out of the 5 linemen have to be new linemen next year, and I'm not kidding with that. I'm not even joking. You need starters. You need guys that can protect. What is your fucking investment?
Right.
Phillip fucking Rivers. He is not mobile. He cannot provide an outside threat out of the pocket when he runs like a freaking moose outside the pocket there, and he throws the ball away every single time. He gets pressured every single play. But yes, they have to revamp this line. I don't care if it's Orlando Franklin just because he can't play football anymore. I don't know what happened to him. He just looks he doesn't look like what we paid for. That's it.
You know me though. I can't just accept all of a sudden he starts sucking. I always have to have a reason why. So I'm always looking for a reason.
But you're making an excuse.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Have you not been listening to the show?
No, I know. But you're
come on, Justin. That's what he does.
That's what I do.
But you asked me, so that's excuses.
Yeah, no, which is fine. That's what I want. You need to call me on it.
You know what Mike McCoy does after press conferences? He makes excuses.
What else can he do?
Right. He does that all the time. So that's what the team does too.
But since I don't like your answer, I'm going to go for a second opinion. Jake, what are your thoughts on the cut block situation? First of all, the rules, I know they changed. I don't know the specific change. Do you think that has anything to do with Franklin all of a sudden not being able to play offensive line?
Man, you came to the wrong place for a different second opinion, dude. Let me tell you what. I mean, come on. Justin is 100% right on this. I mean, remember, let's go back to before he was even in Denver. This guy was a second-round pick out of Miami, Florida. And again, just being an offensive line, you're going to go through different coordinators, you're going to go through different schemes and what have you, but you learn and you adapt. And yeah, maybe the cut block aspect was a whole lot easier, but you're an offensive lineman that's done it. If you're at the pro level, you've done this your entire life. You know how to practice, how to prepare, and ultimately how to play on Sundays. So no, I don't think that that's a valid excuse at all. And when Orlando actually was in the free agency period, when the Chargers picked him up, he was the highest rated guard that was out there on the free agent market. So it seemed like a huge win for the Chargers and their investment, and it seemed so perfect. And it was this is still following a couple of years after us losing Luis Vasquez and trying to really build up some strong offensive linemen, and he was graded out by most as some of the best run blocking offensive lineman that was out there. So regardless of the scheme, this guy's performance of what we had seen from him in Denver for his first 4 years, I have yet to see 1 year of it really in San Diego thus far. And it's been a huge disappointment. And again, here's another free agent that we try to really hit a home run on along the offensive line, because now we've got really, in reality, if you take the contracts of Dunlap, Orlando Franklin, and Joe Barksdale, there has been a lot of money that's invested in that offensive line that is not returning the investment to the quarterback in which it was paid there for. So it's been an extreme disappointment with all of these guys.
Mikey, you have any other reason? Can you give me a reason why Orlando Franklin all of a sudden forgot how to play offensive line?
Yeah, buddy, you sure came to me, man. I don't know what you're going to those guys for. Hey, maybe, we talk about this all the time in other sports, but, I mean, maybe he just got paid and that's it. You know how guys sometimes get paid and they don't perform. So
yeah, Robert Meacham.
We've had a lot of...
Ooh, that was a nice one.
Yeah.
So I've always wondered that. I mean, obviously we won't ever know why this has happened, but that's kind of what I always like. You got paid, you're done, whatever. And I don't know. Like I said, I just don't. I don't have really a reason. That's just throwing out there a bone to help you and give you something to chew on there.
It seems like San Diego is the place where superstars come to retire. They get their big contract here, and then they just kind of ride on into the sunset and get paid to not play. Speaking of disappointing, Darren brings up in the chat room, Travis Benjamin. Can we? Wow. I mean, I know we're going to go over all this stuff in the off season, but holy crap! Sucks. What were we thinking? Look at the numbers he put up in Cleveland with no quarterback. Imagine what he's going to do in San Diego with a good quarterback. And Travis Benjamin, I know he's battled a little bit of knee problems, but holy cow, this guy has been so underwhelming. Justin, any thoughts? I mean, you're putting your hands up to your neck.
Yeah, he's terrible.
I mean, you want to cut? You think they should just cut him and move on?
No, and I think he's still a talent. Maybe he is being nagged by injury. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm not in the I'm not in the conditioning room. I don't know what he's going through, but I know that he hasn't played well, and I know we paid him a lot of money to catch footballs. And when they're wide open and Philip puts a dime on your hands, you got to catch football.
Still hurts, doesn't it? That still hurts, doesn't it?
No, it does. And when you're across the middle and you poke balls up into the air because you can't catch a ball over the middle and it gets intercepted, that's not Philip Rivers' fault. I don't care if it's behind you. And if you put your hands on the damn football, catch it. And then not to mention the punt return blunders.
Yeah.
It's been a disaster. I mean, to me, for the money you paid this guy, you said it. It's underwhelming, man. This guy, yuck. Yuck. That's all I can. Yuck. It's just been yuck. Dude.
Yuck is a perfect word for Travis Benjamin. Mikey, Travis Benjamin, should the Chargers cut bait and move on, or you think that there's something redeeming here?
Let the record show that I was the last one to come around him, and that's because you guys. I didn't want to. I told you it's not going to be the same. Someone has to catch balls in Cleveland, and you guys are like, no.
No, you're right, Mikey. I hate saying it. Every time I have to, but Mikey, you were right, man.
Keenan went down and before Steve.
Yeah, no, it was right when they signed him.
Yeah, they signed him.
Right when they signed him, Mikey was right.
Someone has to catch the balls. You put Terrell Pryor.
I promise you I didn't cut him off, guys. I think this is on his end.
You totally did.
No, he was agreeing with me, kind of.
I know.
We'll go to Jake.
What? You guys can hear me?
Oh, now you're back now. You're back now.
Oh, okay.
There you are.
No. Yeah, but no.
Call your internet provider.
I mean, he's not. I don't know. I don't even know if he's a 2. Honestly, I don't know if he's a 2.
He certainly hasn't played like a 2. And you know what? You now your words are coming back to haunt us, Mikey. But you were right. And if you cut off, I want to make sure people hear what you had to say, which is somebody in Cleveland had to catch the balls, and that was. Maybe we should listen to you a little bit more. I still think that you're way off on Philip Rivers, but stuff like this, you were right. Somebody did have to catch him. I know.
They'll never let us live it down.
Yeah, that's why we can't hear him right now. His head is getting so big it's absorbing his microphone.
But that being said, hang on a second. I can't let you walk away from giving Mikey all the kudos, because when you talk about Craig Mager getting his interceptions, your head gets as big as the.
Oh, you're right.
So,
you're right.
It's like the Goodyear blimp. He's up there.
Let me tell you something. I have a notebook full of predictions. Like only a couple of them have ever come close to being right, and
Yeah, do you have a lighter to set that thing on?
No way, because when one of them comes back, I flip back to that page and I make sure I remind you every single week that I called that. Even when I'm off by a week, I say, "Oh, I predicted that 2 weeks ago." But
I thought Mikey got a raise before the show. He can't afford good internet connection.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, we did.
I don't know what's going on. Try the Wi-Fi. Try it all, guys.
Travis Benjamin has hacked Mikey's internet.
He's mad about what he's saying.
Let's move on to the coaching now. Everybody, let me tell you, I think it's the easiest, laziest thing to say. Fire the coaches. Fire the coaches. Fire the coaches. Fire the coaches. It's so easy, and that's what everybody was saying with Norv Turner, and we're still losing. Everybody who said get rid of Norv Turner, now they're just saying the same thing about Mike McCoy. But I will say I have been very disappointed with the way the game plan has been. We have a defense that's actually playing pretty decent. And the only way for us to win, and I said it in the last pregame show, was for our offense to get ultra conservative. We need to hand the ball off much more. We need to take the small, short passes. We need to do what they do in Kansas City. And if we have to punt, we have to punt. Now, that's another story because our punter totally fucking sucks ass right now too. And I understand that. We could talk about that as well. But
it was your future rookie of the year.
You're right. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for reminding me. That's in this notebook here somewhere too. I did call him to be the Chargers rookie of the year, and oh my God,
Did you call him personally, or did you call him?
Yeah, I think he must have been listening that day because his head got so swollen he forgot how to punt. But anyways, the only way for us to win is to play super conservative, let our defense actually play, because our offense has put our day. Everybody talks about all the points our defense has scored, has given up. For crying out loud, they're 20-yard drives. We keep turning the ball over, which you could put that on Phillip Rivers as well. But with this offensive line, taking 7-step and 5-step drops are not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And he does have the gunslinger mentality, the thing that Mikey and Hal hammered home to me this week. But that's one of the things I actually like. I was a huge fan of Stan Humphries. Stan Humphries was the same way. Total gunslinger. I'm going out on my shield.
I hate Brett Favre.
Loved it.
You know, I hate Brett Favre.
I'm not a big fan of Brett Favre either because he's not a Charger.
I am. Dude, those Wrangler commercials are badass.
Yeah. You know what? Side
Dude,
note.
I went up and bought a copper fit 2 weeks ago.
Side note on that. Who does he owe money to? The fact that he's doing all these crappy commercials. Is he in debt with somebody? I mean, the fact that he's doing copper fit commercials and $10 a week razor commercials and
that chick that has his photo.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing.
Has got him for ransom.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Anyways, I love the gunslinger mentality. I was a huge Stan Humphries fan, and that's exactly the way he played as well. But I'm telling you, with the talent on this offense, the talent on this offensive line, the fact that we have a running back that can be the hashtag focal point of the offense, we need to be more conservative. And for some reason, the coaching staff has not embraced this, and they're not doing it. And we keep putting our defense in a horrible position. Now, I'm not saying that, let's fire the coaches and get new coaches in here, but I'm saying they need to do a better job of game planning, because the game planning of trying to be this high-powered offense flat out isn't working, and all it equals is turnovers. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, we alluded to it on the pregame show, and I like that you had 4 cups of coffee before the show, Jason. The pregame show, me and you were debating with David, and me and you agreed that we need to slow down the pace a little bit. We need to control the clock more. We need to be more diligent about time of possession. We need to run the football as hard as you can. I make that a hashtag focal point. You got to make sure that's your philosophy, because this gunslinger mentality right now with the talent we have on the field just isn't working, and we can see that very vividly with this offensive line. Now, if your game plan all week leading up to the game is let's knock these guys off the ball, let's use tight end sets, let's big package this thing, let's bring Derek Watt in. Those are the things we were talking about before the show, right, Jason?
Yep, exactly.
And that's where David disagreed with us. And I'm with you, because and this is why we lost the game. When Phillip ultimately had to start throwing the rock around, it didn't work out because the receivers weren't getting open. He didn't have time to let the receivers get open. It was a disaster. Managing the clock and running the football would have been his best bet. They just got away from it. And I get that they were down in that game and they had to start making plays, but
they were down because of the offense.
Exactly, because they're putting themselves in a hole. And I totally agree with that. And
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to Mikey next, because I will tell you that I actually think that Phillip has a lot of input into the game plan and stuff. And so I put a little bit of that on him too, because I think that they do need to get a little bit more conservative. Mikey, do you agree that the offense is they need to play a little bit more conservative?
I agree with you, but I'm going to touch back on your first point, which is, I was a big Fire McCoy guy, at the beginning, and I really took it back, Oh,
you really like him now? You sent him a
Christmas
card?
Him. Like, everybody criticizes for a lot of things, but like you guys say every week, this team sucks. It's injured, Like, what's he supposed to do? Sometimes I don't know. I've coached a lot. I've coached a lot of different sports, and sometimes you're just you don't have the talent to win, And this happens a lot to teams. And, like you said, we lost some games we shouldn't have lost, and you can point to specific plays. You can go to Keenan going down against Kansas City, say change the game. You can talk about the fumbles in New Orleans. things that McCoy can't really control. And McCoy's came in. We brought him in because Turner was like 8-8, 7-9, 9-7 the last 3 years, and it's been more of the same the first two. And obviously last year was a really big drop off. This team sucks. There's so much he can do with the personality he has. We talk about the offensive line being terrible. What's he supposed to do? Right. His running back goes down. What's he going to do? So I kind of don't see it on him. I actually kind of do put a little bit of blame on Telesco because he's bringing these players in. I'm not saying they all want to bust, but there's just so many variables. I can't sit here and tell you guys week in, week out and say Philip Rivers sucks. The receivers suck. The line sucks. So-and-so's hurt this week, and then go, yeah. And also, McCoy, you suck. Because he's dealing with that shit every week. So, I feel like you're right. It's kind of lazy to just go, McCoy sucks.
But it's not lazy, guys. Look at his record. It's not lazy.
9-7.
And I don't care about injuries. We all have injuries, and it's just been bad luck. No, I know you care, but when do you not care? I mean, this happens every season with the Chargers. So when do you start caring? And then it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. He's a loser. He's a loser. He is a loser. Okay. Look at his record. He's a loser. He's a loser. Get the F out of here. He's a loser, guy.
You want to start over again?
He's had one playoff appearance, and that was when he took over this.
Okay, let's. Well, first of all, we'll let Jake go. Jake, do you think that one of the problems has been the game plan? The game plan, and it's not just McCoy with the game plan. We're talking about everybody. Everybody who's contributing.
Take on your head coach. The team takes the perception of the head coach. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's what I'm so infuriated.
Okay, we'll table that. We'll come back to whether or not McCoy should go. Overall game plan, and that's Whisenhunt, that's McCoy, and I know Rivers. I certainly believe Rivers has a lot of input into that too. Do you think that their game plan approach has been just way off, especially the last few weeks, Jake?
I don't know necessarily about game plan being off of approach. Again, there's people that go down that you just can't expect for it. I said, but on that note, when you see this Chargers team playing good, again, the one stat that jumps out to me that really displays the lack of coaching that really shows up. Again, we can take Mike McCoy's overall record of what he's done in the past 4 years as the head coach, and we can obviously say that, as Justin says, he's a loser because it is a losing record. You are 1-14 in divisional games over four.
That's awful. That's awful.
Just in the last 2 years, 1-14. That is terrible.
That's garbage. Get the F out of here.
But if we're going to just take this year alone, the one stat that jumps out to me is that 8 out of the 11 games or 10 games or whatever it is that the Chargers were ahead. 8 of these games that we've ended up losing, the Chargers were ahead at halftime. And they ended up losing it. And whether it was in the fourth quarter or whatnot, something is telling me that in that locker room, you could talk about pregame preparations all you want, but halftime adjustments are such a big deal. It does not matter if you are ahead in the game or if you were behind. Those are the really crucial moments in the game where you have to make your own adjustments. It does not matter if you are ahead on the scoreboard or not. And we've seen it time and time again, every time this year, that the Chargers have done really well, look like a team that's virtually unstoppable in the first half when they're playing good, and they come out and their whole game plan just completely changes. I mean, what was the game that was a couple weeks ago where Melvin Gordon, I think it was the Miami game actually, or no, actually, I take it back. Maybe it was Tampa Bay, where Melvin Gordon, I think, had 54 yards in the passing game, and they were still getting him involved in the running game. And when the second half came around, you barely even involved him in that. Why go away from something that's working? It's the most confusing thing I've ever seen, and that is just a small sample of one of the things that this coaching staff, Whisenhunt included, that has just totally made this
He's
entire...
He's a loser, too.
Let me
offensive game plan a question mark. It's baffling.
One thing, and that word is perfect, baffling. One thing that and you know me, I always try and find a reason, whether it's changing of the rules or I kept saying that maybe with so few good players left on this team. I kept saying, well, when you keep rotating, you got these guys rotating in too much because they're so good. But the bottom line is, and it is all trying to. Justin's right. I'm trying to find excuses. That's what I do. That's what I do, and it's not going to change. But I am absolutely baffled that a team can, in the first half, look so good and so dominant, and in the second half, absolutely nothing fucking works. Nothing works. You go to throw the ball, and it's like the offensive line forgot how to block, and there is absolutely no time. You hand off the ball, there's no holes anymore. From the first half to the second half, it is unbelievable how much of a difference this team makes. And maybe it's they don't know how to make halftime adjustments. Maybe it's I've heard the excuse of well, it's hard to make adjustments when you're playing so good in the first half because there's nothing to adjust. I've heard that as well. I don't have an answer. There's no answer for how poor, except the fact that they aren't able to make the adjustments, and that's you got good. Give it to me, Mikey.
Okay, so I gave you the halftime thing. And the thing is that there's a difference, though. You have to, as a good coach,
that was okay. You're the one I heard that from. That's right.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
But the thing is, there's a second part to that. Is as a good coach, you have to be able to make in-game adjustments.
Yes.
And that's a different story.
That's something that Bill Belichick's really good at. I fucking hate him, but that's something he's really good at.
I've coached almost every sport I've coached, and there's certain games that I can, in football, I cannot make halftime adjustments. I was terrible at it. Basketball's a different story, but there's just some coaches that can't. So, I think he lacks that. It's part of being, a first-year coach, a head coach. You have that not to do it. And then again, I really feel like there are reasons that he is doing poorly because, again, the roster. And that's why I look at Telesco. And, I don't know, guys. These 2 years we're going to have 4 wins last year. We're looking at, 5 wins, 6 wins this year.
Maybe. With this roster
we bashed on the roster this year and last year. The year before he was 9-7, coming off a 7-9 season. So the 2 years before that. So I think, again, it's really hard to judge him. And I think actually, I know he doesn't give you sound bites, and I know, Jason, you like that he doesn't say anything.
Yep.
I feel like sometimes when they ask him a question, he just decides to not throw anybody under the bus, and I appreciate that. That's a leader to me. They ask him about an interception or a fumble, and I'm like, he doesn't go, Melvin Gordon needs to, hold on to the ball better. He just kind of just says it, or he doesn't say Philip Rivers needs to stop throwing 4 picks in a quarter. He just kind of goes, doesn't blame anybody in one particular.
You like that?
Thank you, Mikey.
In the media, yeah, I don't like him to go as a leader. If I was an employee, if you were my boss, I wouldn't want you to tell other people.
Mikey, but it's been 4 years of failure. 3 years of failure, at a certain point, you got to hold people accountable. Even in the media, Philip Rivers needs to play better, or Melvin Gordon needs to stop fumbling the fucking football. I don't like his. You're talking about McCoy, right? He's so bland at press conferences.
I love it.
Says the same. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you would sit right in front of a Bill Belichick press conferences, have a ball.
No, because I hate him.
No, I know, but it's the same rhetoric. It's the same rhetoric every week with this guy. They ask him tough questions. Well, we just got to move on, and we just don't got to move on. We've had 9 freaking losses in a row. You dumbass.
I love it.
Okay, you're 1-14 in division the last 3. Get the F out of here. Go park cars somewhere.
I'm gonna say.
Go away.
So the last.
That guy's an idiot.
We can agree the last 2 years have been, full of injuries. But before the 2 years, his first 2 years, he was 9-7.
Yeah.
Coming off
Great.
7-9.
That's stellar.
Well, coming off 7-9, that's a 2-game improvement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy I figured out how to get Mikey on today.
There's a few franchises that have a franchise quarterback in this league.
Jake,
unbelievable.
Jake, bring some.
This is the epitome of mediocrity. This right here, this debate. You two are the epitome of San Diego sports fans. You just settle for I hate it. I hate this stuff.
One thing.
Mediocrity. We settle for mediocrity in this town all the time. We do.
Well, Justin calls McCoy a loser, but
He is.
that's Philip Rivers' same record as a starter. Is that
Sure.
same number? So
Coached by Mike McCoy.
Jake,
okay. There's asterisk there, guys. Coach Mike
Yep,
McCoy.
there is. It's his boss.
Jake, bring some saneness back. Jake, bring some saneness back to the show. I know that you're not a huge fan of Mike McCoy. I'm assuming you're more online. You're more on board with what Justin says.
I'm not, and I understand what Justin is trying to say when it comes to accountability. I am all about accountability. But if we're going to isolate, just this last game, Mike McCoy is not going to throw Philip Rivers under the bus. And if you notice what Philip Rivers did when he was in his press conference, he actually corrected himself. Said, if I don't turn the ball over 5 times, he doesn't have to. I don't think McCoy is in a position to where he has to point out accountability to that, because he already knows that Philip Rivers is going to take the accountability himself when it comes to those type of mistakes. Melvin Gordon, anybody else that makes mistakes throughout the game, I mean, damn, if we're talking about the kick return game that it was for this team throughout the first 4 weeks of the season, then hell yeah, I would love to have heard some accountability on that subject. But yeah, it's the same type of rhetoric every week. At this point in time, though, with everything that's happened in San Diego, like literally everything that can happen has happened throughout this entire season, there really isn't much of it to say. But it sucks from the standpoint of that it sounds like it's a Norv Turner 2.0, because Norv never said anything whenever it came to losses. It was always the same bland type of this and that and whatnot, and you felt like you're just, hearing a record on repeat. That's all it basically sounded like. But under these circumstances, it's just, we have to understand that, this in my opinion, it really is no way possible that the Chargers could bring this guy back just based off of record alone. Regardless what you want to hear from him in his post-game interviews, the numbers speak for themselves. And, I personally felt that a reason that Mike McCoy stayed last year, and I know that we'll get into this a little later in the show, was because of the looming stadium situation. I don't know that they were in a position to possibly go and attract a coach to come to a situation where there was so much up in the air with the team and the location and everything that was going on with the city in that time. I don't believe that was an attractive option for anybody to come and coach at that time. So I believe that was one underlying fact of why McCoy was even retained last season. But I don't think that there's any way, any point in time, if this team finishes 5-11, it really doesn't matter if it wins the last 3 games or if it loses the last 3 games. Regardless of that record, Mike McCoy can no longer be the head coach of this football team.
Hal has joined us a little while ago in the chat room, and I'm going to tell you,
God bless him.
I think he is loving, not only is he loving the show, but I think he's sitting back like a proud papa, because I think he feels like a lot of what's happening in our podcast today was part of the pot that he started stirring up. He's been trying all week long, but he finally succeeded in stirring some shit up. And he's got Justin. He's got fired up Justin. He got. We've all been pretty fired up, and I think that Hal feels like a proud papa right now in the chat room.
He's Mr. Burns behind his desk, twiddling his fingers right now.
Exactly. I got a guy at work who likes to kind of stir the pot and then step back a little bit. He always laughs and he goes, "Dance puppets for me, dance puppets," and that's what I feel like Hal's doing right now.
Yeah, wait, Jason. Jason. Before the season, this is a big thing of perspective. Before the season, you guys, we all made perspectives of where they would finish in the AFC West, and I told you guys last. So to me, like I said, because I saw this roster and I didn't see the talent that you guys saw.
Right.
And we'll never know. We'll never know because of the injuries. So it really is a thing of perspective. Like, to me, I see this talent, I see this roster, and I look at the rosters in the AFC West, and I don't think even with the full squad we're better than those teams. And that's just me. So it's a perspective thing where you look at it and you think, this is what this team really is. And like I said, we won't know because of injuries. Just
right. No, and I agree with you, but at some point, the coaching staff, I don't care how many injuries you have, there's other teams in this league that are still in contention that have injuries. I know we've had the worst of them all. We have had every best player of every position seemingly go down. It's terrible. But this happens to us every single season, guys. So at some point, You got to prepare yourself. Now that's a general manager's job, right? Bring in depth, guys that need to be there to fill in those roles. I don't care. They need to be coached up because you still have Phillip Rivers behind center and you still have a chance. I know that's hard to say. You don't always have a chance. The talent is bleak, but if you can get the depth from the general manager that he drafts these players and brings them in, that's where it lies. The whole front office has to, whether you bring in the head coach, the offensive coordinator, all this stuff comes together. It's all, to me, it's all on Tom Telesco, and it is. And he needs to make the decision right after the season, get rid of McCoy. Whisenhunt hasn't proven anything. I haven't seen anything good out of this season, and we can blame McCoy or Whisenhunt, and Whisenhunt calls the shots on offense, right? So we can all agree it's been pretty bleak at times, and it's been really baffling, like we said earlier. So that's a problem. There's a lot of problems on this damn team.
You know, one thing about Telesco, and we'll give him this, is he's excited.
Super nice guy.
He's a roller coaster because this guy, either, Matt Slauson, absolute home run. Travis Benjamin, catastrophic mistake. There's nobody he brings in that goes, oh, that guy kind of did what we expected. He either does really, really good or just absolutely horribly bombs. And
who was the corner we brought in a couple years ago? He's crap.
Derek Cox.
Jacksonville. Derek Cox.
Yeah, Derek Cox.
I wrote an article on him for our website when it first came out.
Remember when you used to write articles? I remember that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, guys. I feel like, again, I look at this talent and I look at the acquisitions that Telesco has made. And at the beginning, I looked at this team and I thought this team is the worst team in the AFC West. So for me, I can't fault McCoy for not, being able to create, a winning team out of, and I hate to say it, a bunch of losers. And they're not, but they weren't a bunch of, winners.
But that was my perception. Yeah, but next year, this would gets me fired up. You bring in a new coaching staff, and I know it's late in Phillip's career, but if you're going to go with the same guys and you get all these guys back off injury that are really stud players, and this is all hypothetical, right? Then you go out and you revamp the line for Phillip. You go out in free agency and you get more offensive line. You just stack that line. You go get a coach that knows something about football and isn't a puppet at the podium and won't say a damn word or hold people accountable. That's where it lies. He's too soft. He's too flippin' soft. This team takes on the mentality of your head coach. It does, though. And you guys got to realize that it starts with the head coach. And for me, next year could be a special season. It really could, barring no injuries, mind you, right? And acquisitions. You have to go put people around Phillip to make the correct things to make him successful. You can't. You're a franchise player, guys. We already know that.
I know everybody says Telesco gets us like a coach, but I mean he's one bringing his players in, and you're putting this on Telesco. So why bring him back? Why
bring Telesco back?
Yeah.
Well, good question. If I'm Dean Spanos, but Dean Spanos, this is the problem with the whole organization. This happens every season. We talk about this. They're very passive. They don't care. There's no urgency in that front office. I'm
gonna give Jake a chance. I know he was trying to talk a minute ago, but I do want to. Hal's in the chat room. He wants to call in. The problem, Hal, is we're having with the Skype line. They changed something right now. If you call in on the line, the only way that it works is I have to disconnect the other three guys, and it'd just be you and me, and you don't want that anyways. But we do. If there's any way you have access to Skype, if you can get into Skype and search for SD Sports Junkies, I can bring you in via Skype. But I can't. If you call in, I have to hang up on Jake, Justin, and Mikey, and trust me, nobody wants that. Jake, your turn. If you have anything to add to this.
Let's not forget one thing here. We always talk about rookie players, and we say, hey, this guy's a rookie. We see them either do one of two things in their second year. They're either going to progress or they're going to continue their decline. Mike McCoy, when he came to us, was a first-time head coach. He has now had 3 years since his last winning season to progress. And in fact, he has gotten worse. And it's one of those similar type of things. would do with a player.
He has.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons right now. If we were to take one example of when Josh McDaniels was a rookie head coach and when he came to Denver, he had that team at 6-0, ultimately collapsed during that second half of the season. He had to go through the Tim Tebow phase of everything that was going on in that organization, and they ultimately fired Josh McDaniels. Goes back to New England, always revered in the league for being a great offensive-minded, offensive coordinator. And now he's probably the top name to be looked at again as a head coach. He is going to be 10 times the head coach that he was when he was in Denver, because there is probably light years of things that he has been able to learn in those past couple of years. Mike McCoy possibly could become a head coach for somebody again down the line, but he has to learn much. He has to learn so much, in my opinion, before he gets to that point. So he is not the coach for this team. Justin said it best: your persona of your players is basically mirrored in the perception of your head coach. That's how it works. And personally, I think, Mikey can say everything he wants about Telesco and the personnel and the roster that he looks at on this team, but I personally think that what Telesco did in this year specifically was the best that he has done in terms of roster moves when you're comparing the good and the bad. The depth on this team, even though it is 19 players in on the IR, the depth on this team is considerably better than it has been in the last 4 years. That is a testament to Telesco. The players that he has gotten, even though a majority, half of them, unfortunately, are on IR, the ones that he did grab made a great impact for this team. Brandon Meadbane was a huge impact for this team. Karan Reed looked like a gem of a free agent fund.
Yeah.
You're right.
He was great for the defensive line.
That's what I was saying earlier, Jake. I mean, if you look at next season under new coaching, I don't know. I just think a new coach, a new guy at the helm would bring a different attitude. And you add the guys that we've lost, plus a good offseason with a revamped line, because we know the Achilles heel of this team this year has been the offensive line.
I'm with you.
Except for the run blocks.
The Achilles heel of this team this year has been the Achilles heel for the players.
Oh, gee. Yeah. Hashtag Brandon Oliver. Hashtag Minnesota. Which one do you want to name off?
Cumberland.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But no, I'm with you. I 100% agree with that. You look at defensively, as much as we had ripped on John Pagano the last couple of years, he has done an absolutely fantastic job. The stats for the defense last year were absolutely horrendous. And now this team, I believe, is in the top 5 in rush defense.
Eric Weddle.
Oh, it's totally because of Eric Weddle. Absolutely 100%. But the defensive stats have dramatically improved. And that is a testament to him and his coaching capability that he does for that defense. So I'm with you, Justin. There's going to be a variety of change for this team in the offseason. And unfortunately, somebody's just going to have to take the brunt of this, and you're going to have to find a scapegoat, and it has to be Mike McCoy.
You know what?
Who would have thought on the defensive line, bringing in a D tackle that could actually take some space up?
Yeah.
Who
else said that
too?
Oh,
wait, me. Yeah. Not Tom Telesco.
Oh, my God.
No, but you're right.
It hurts.
Finally, right?
Mikey, it only hurts because you've been right on a lot of these things that you're saying.
Someone take the air pump out of Mikey's head.
But seriously, but in all seriousness, this has been a thing that's been ongoing for 4 years since Telesco's been here.
We've all been saying that's nothing new. We've all been saying this, that you needed.
Why couldn't Telesco see it 3 years ago?
There wasn't anybody.
There was a year that was heavy on
defensive tackles. He was something serviceable. We never had a guy that size there since.
Let me tell you this: I've spent the last how many years telling everybody what I actually like Mike McCoy. I like his style. I like all of that stuff. Everything about him I like. Jake, that's the first argument I've ever heard that actually made a little bit of sense to me about getting rid of McCoy and moving on from McCoy, because I'm not saying you're lazy, Justin, because you have thought, but
he sucks.
But just
he does.
It's
but
just
it is just when you look at his record.
No, I understand, right? And I understand there's more thought behind it. But most people, the second you lose a game, just say fire the coach, fire. It just seems so lazy, and I get so tired of hearing it. It makes me want to defend him even more. But I'll tell you what. That's the first argument that Jake has made on why it might be time to move on from Mike McCoy. That actually, it got through my thick fat head.
4 years. What do college coaches get? College coaches.
Yeah,
what do they get? No, I know, but that's the standard, right? You bring in your recruits, you develop the recruits, and then it pays off year 3 or 4. And
some get less than that.
I know, and I'm just comparing it to that because that's the standard. 4 years is your overall outlook. That's what your product is, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's been injuries. I get it, but at some point you have to overcome the injuries and prove that you can coach in this league. And he's made a lot of bad decisions with time, poor management, everything else. And so, if you want to defend him, go ahead. He's a great coach.
I like him. That's what I say. I like him, and I think
likes him. He's a nice guy.
Not everybody likes him.
He's like Smiley Riley. I guarantee you, Mike Riley,
hip hip hooray,
coaches at Oklahoma now would do a better job than Mike McCoy would.
Let me bring in one more roster comment before we move on to LA talk, because we do have to address some of the stuff and at least talk about that as much as we're tired of it. Something else that Hal said, he said a lot of stuff. I can't cover everything, but one thing that he said was he thinks the Chargers should move on from Keenan Allen and Danny Woodhead. And the reason why is injuries. I don't think that Hal and you can. I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but basically he can't rely on their health. He's not thinking about ability, because Keenan Allen has the ability to be one of the best receivers in all of football. We've seen that. Danny Woodhead is an absolute weapon. The problem is between the two of them, neither one of them can stay on the field. Let's be honest. We've lost a lot of games with both of those, and he does not think the Chargers should move in the direction of keeping either one of them. He thinks they should move on from both of them. I'm going to start with Hal's boyfriend, Mikey. Mikey, what are your thoughts on what he said? You agree? Oh, good. Hal says I'm exactly right. I got what he said exactly right. Mikey, agree or disagree?
Is there another Mikey on the phone that's Hal's boyfriend?
Yeah.
I'm only here.
Mikey, we need you to talk now.
I know you hadn't made that public yet. I'm sorry. I might have brought you out of the closet there.
I'm sorry. What was the question again? I was thinking about my comeback.
Should the Chargers completely just move on from Keenan Allen and Woodhead? Not because of ability, because we all know they're both really, really good, but the fact that we can't rely on either one of them being on the field. Is it time to move in a different direction for both of them?
I think I wouldn't be opposed to them both coming back. I think you got to bring Keenan back only because of his talent level. He's worth it. I think Woodhead, with the development of Melvin Gordon, you can find another player that could take a smaller role than what you had Woodhead doing, because the role was overly big, and Melvin Gordon has developed into a good all-around back. You won't need him to take that much of a role, so another player would be fine. But I feel like you got to try. It's kind of like the Melvin Ingram contract extension, or the option they picked up. You have to check and see what you got there with Keenan Allen. I think letting him go and then seeing him blow up somewhere else is just too much of a risk to take.
I agree. Well said, actually. By the way, Hal did chime in. He says you're the bottom and he's the top. Justin,
I see that.
What are your thoughts, Justin?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I know Hal comes from a special place, but I'm not a believer in letting a Keenan go or Woodhead go or anybody else that's probably been injured this year. Yeah. I think they're all very good players. With the right rehab, hopefully they can stay healthy. I'll knock on wood for them. But, these are game-changing type of guys. I mean, you have a Danny Woodhead on third down. We all know what he brings to the table. He's smart, witty. Keenan Allen, what can you say about the guy? If he could just stay on the football field, he's on pace to break every single record you can think of.
Well, I listen to Mike and Mike in the morning a lot, and what Mike Golick always says is the most important ability a player has is availability, and neither one of those, of all the abilities those guys have, those are the two abilities that they don't have.
Sure. Well, I say Keenan gets another year though to get evaluated. I really believe. I know Woodhead's been really iffy, but I think Keenan for sure, because he's such a talent and so young.
Jake, Chargers need to move in a different direction and get some guys that are more reliable?
Well, Mikey might not actually believe the words that are about to come out of my mouth right now, but I actually agree in the exact type of approach that Mikey said. I think, you have to give Keenan Allen a little bit more because of the talent investment, regardless of the injuries. And let's not forget, the Chargers just gave him a brand new contract to start the season above all else. Danny Woodhead, I believe that your running back crop and how you've brought along Melvin Gordon for a majority of this year while not having Danny Woodhead in the mix, I believe that your running back crew, if you could, or your talent at that position can withstand. You can find guys that can be strictly that third down type of back. We see them found all the time. Where the hell did Tyreek Hill come from in Kansas City? Where the hell did Ty Montgomery
can they pass block, though?
That's the one X factor that you need to find. I totally agree with you there, Justin. Absolutely. But your running back crop can sustain, in my opinion. It's definitely hard to take a talent like Keenan Allen away from the Chargers as far as their weapons goes. I mean, we knew exactly when Keenan went down in that first game against Kansas City how everything changed. And it was the same that had happened when he went down against Green Bay last year.
Yep.
Every single thing changed. He is an absolute game changer. And for his talent, for him only being in the league now going on 4 years, you need to keep this kid. You need to give him every opportunity possible. I understand the factor of the injuries, but hey, in San Diego, baby, we donate for the Red Cross, man. So we just have to prepare for those injuries. It doesn't matter which player it is. We have to prepare for that. So I have complete faith that, again, Tom obviously is going to tell on it, and hopefully the rehab has gone stellar for him. But you definitely need to bring Keenan Allen back. And with Woodhead, I'm sure that they will. But if I was to pick one of the two that you can possibly move on from, I believe that this team could make it without a Danny Woodhead on the team.
You brought up a good point, and we talked about it during the offseason, but we haven't really talked about it, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but last year I think the Chargers offense was ranked like 6 before Keenan Allen went down and like 30 or something after he went down, and those numbers might not be exact, but it was very, very dramatic how much they dropped off. And some people say, oh, well, they played better teams, oh, this, oh, that. But this year they looked like an unstoppable Super Bowl force for that quarter and a half that they had Keenan Allen this year. And once he went down, it was just, everything changed. Moving on, there's been a lot of talk about, it seems like every week something new comes out about whether or not the Chargers are going up to L.A., whether they're not. And we'll give everybody a chance to weigh on this. But a couple things I've been thinking about. First of all, the Rams just went to L.A. The L.A. was absent an NFL team for 20 years. And the Rams came back to L.A. L.A. wanted the Rams. They had pep rallies. They were so excited. They absolutely sold out their first preseason game. Everything was great. They wanted the Rams. We're 3/4 of the way through the first season, and their stadium has only been filled to 89% capacity this year on average. And that's a stadium that was full at big time at the beginning. Now towards the end, they're already halfway or 3/4 of the way through the first season. They're not even filling their stadium to capacity. And the Chargers want to move up there, and you think that people are going to go up and support? I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It seems to me like it's the leverage that Spanos is trying to use is not there. There is no leverage. For him to go up to L.A. just seems like it would be an absolute nightmare. Not only that, all the stuff that he wants in San Diego, he doesn't get up there. He's sharing a stadium. He's not getting a stadium. He's sharing a stadium with a team that people want there. He's a team that people do not want there. The L.A. fans do not want the Chargers up there. The Chargers right now are currently filling their stadium. They're 32nd in the league at only 78.6%. The Rams are 31st in the league. Chargers are 32nd in the league. And I'm going to put a lot of that blame on Spanos because he's alienated this whole we're going to move up to L.A. has totally alienated the fans that are down here. He's gone and he's done irreparable damage with some of them. And he has the problems that they're having filling the stadium this year are caused by him. And going up to L.A., I just don't think that is the answer. Another thing, the Rams in L.A. are averaging a 9.4 rating on TV. If you know what that means, if you don't know what that means, who cares? What you have to compare it to, though, is in 21 seasons in St. Louis, the very worst rating they ever had was a 10.6. Ever in 21 years. And they're averaging a 9.4 rating the first year. During the honeymoon season, this is the one that everybody's so excited. They can't even get they can't even average a better rating than the worst rating that they ever had in St. Louis. And the Chargers want to go up there. It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm so tired of I'm going to do everything I can to keep the Bolts here, but I'm not paying any more attention until I find out for sure what's happening, because I'm so tired of they're definitely moving, they're definitely staying. So until we find out what happens, I'm just so over it now. I'm so over it, and I'm not saying I want them to leave. And I'm saying I'm over the Chargers, but I'm just over all the stadium talk. It just seems like a bunch of bullshit. Somebody threatening to go somewhere that nobody wants you anyways. Justin,
wow, that was
you're
a
up.
lot.
I'm sorry.
That's a loaded plate there. The 78% you alluded to with the lowest in the league by the Chargers, 52% of that's the opposing team's fans.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Which
terrible.
Which is always going to be in San Diego.
Sure, yeah, and especially with the kind of year they're having. But I agree, man. Like, last thing you said, you're sick of it. I'm sick of it too. I'm almost to the point where I'm just get the F out of here, dude. Like I'm not
there.
Oh, I'm like done with it, because I hear it. I mean, I listen to sports talk every day, and I got to hear this crap, and it just gets old. It gets old with everything involved. I don't want them to leave, obviously. I want them to have a brand new state-of-the-art facility, just like everybody else in this town. But it's not going to happen here for a long time. And if they choose to stay, what's going to happen? What's really going to happen? Yeah. They're going to go through another year of voting. They're going to shoot it down. It's not going to happen unless somebody kicks in more money or whatever. So the future doesn't look good here, guys, for the San Diego Chargers. And that's pretty sad, because ultimately, which is even more of an embarrassment, they're going to run up the street to LA and not have any fans.
Right. And
it's going to be even worse. And the core fans in San Diego are not going to travel to LA. I can guarantee you that.
No, they'll be pissed.
Fight that traffic. Yeah. They'll be pissed, but there's a hassle going up there. It's not just like cruising down the 8 or the 7. You can't. It's not San Diego traffic. We can handle San Diego traffic.
Yeah.
You want to go sit in LA traffic? That's your fucking deal. You're not.
That's what I deal with.
Yeah, well, Jake's already up there sitting in it.
Jake's already got it, but you know what I mean, Jake. It sucks. It sucks, and to see your favorite professional sports team that's been ripped from you, from your town. I think a lot of disinterested Charger fans are opting not to go up there, and I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. Your thoughts on the whole Chargers LA thing, where we're at right now?
I don't know. It's I'm sick of talking about it too, and I'm sick of talking about it because tomorrow there's going to be a new thing that was released, or next week there was going to be something that's released to the public, and we're going to have to sit here and talk about it, and just this ever changing of this person said this, or this person said this, or the outlook for San Diego is bleak. It's definitely a 99% chance that they're going to LA. Yeah. It's just like, just after a while, it's just like, you don't want to hear that anymore. And it's not to the point where it's just like, you know what, if you're going to roll and go, but it's just, fans are just fed up with it.
Yep.
And because of the fact that we're literally a year later after the Chargers were making a commitment to stay, we're still in the same position. And again, I've said it on Twitter plenty of times that I'm just not worrying about it until the NFL just finally comes down and says what's going to happen, regardless of what the is. I just don't need to hear it from everybody. So everybody can say what they want to say, because it's going to be the exact same banter as it was last year. And then in the 11th hour, again, Jerry Jones was the Chargers' greatest hero on that day in making the deal that he made and swaying those voters the other direction to approve the Inglewood project. So again, we could be seeing a very similar situation. Again, it's not until January 15th.
And he was quoted, and not to interrupt, but he was quoted today in those meetings.
Yes.
Somebody got him and said, we want the Chargers in San Diego. And he was very adamant about it. He goes, we just need to work on this. And if he has the kind of pull that we think he does, which he did last year, there's optimism there. If he's a guy saying those things, that little quote right there is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, we've taken the whole Chargers position on this and everything that they've put us through, and you've talked about Spanos. Now, really, in reality, since last January, name me something other than Mayor Kevin Faulconer coming out just maybe 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks before the November vote that the city council has done in order to help a stadium become, a reality in San Diego.
$1 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. But what?
No, I know, but I'm joking. I'm like, it's $1 a year. It's a joke.
In reality, that's it. Yes, they had their discussions, but mainly this was Fred Mast coming together with Spanos and putting together this whole proposal for downtown. Of course, the city didn't like that. They wanted them to go back to Mission Valley, so they stated where their allegiances, where they want the stadium. Now, of course, this is the best thing that we always can predict about San Diego, the NFL, the league with it included.
Is this the remix version?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, Jake. God, that sucks, man.
Sorry. Is it any better?
Let's try it now.
Are you receiving me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Of course, this was such a timely release by the CSAG organization. And for them to release this on the day where the Chargers actually go into the owners' meetings and, of course, leak it the way they did, whoever screwed that up, that obviously got Spanos pissed. But this is how it's going to go. Of course, when the Chargers go to talk about a potential move to L.A., the politics about this, and we know this for what we've had to deal with over the last year, is that the point of perception that elected officials want to have to the public eye in terms of saying, well, we're still here. We're going to offer you $1 a year for the next 99 years for a lease. Okay, that's fantastic. What else? What other structured plan is behind a lease for $1 a year for the next 99?
Scott Sherman's he's a genius.
I mean, it's crazy to me that this is all they've been able to come up with. It just so happens to be released on the day that they go to their NFL owners meetings. Maybe it is a starting point where they can talk. But maybe if possibly you gave a little bit more detail into really how much you really wanted this team to stay, maybe you'd have a little bit more effort behind it. If you guys have not spoken since the November 15 ballot or very briefly, then what have you been doing for the past month and a half? Anybody could come up with a napkin on for this plan to write this out. And this isn't something new. This is something that's been proposed in Oakland. This is something that's been thrown around with their city. So what have you really been doing the last year and a half? Or month and a half? You mean to tell me that you came up with this plan in a month and a half? That is some good taxpayers' money at work there for your elected officials.
The whole thing is the Chargers have been trying. They always talk. The Chargers have been trying to get stadium for 12 or 13 years, and San Diego has dragged their feet. And I really, truly think that part of the reason is they don't think that the LA thing is really a viable option. So they're kind of calling their bluff a little bit, saying, you're not going to go to LA. LA is going to be a disaster for you. So we need to make things happen here on our terms. And that's the way it seems for me. Mikey, you have any thoughts on the whole Chargers to LA debacle?
I've just been watching, and I look at the Rams being so terrible and just managing their team so poorly that maybe Dean's thinking like, man, this is the time I need to strike. And it really is the only time that I could see him thinking like, this is where I'm going to come ahead, because the Rams are just so horrible in public relations. I mean, keeping Jeff Fisher for as long as they did and giving contract extension, I mean, that's just pissing people off.
Not only that, they gave that contract extension a while ago, and they didn't announce it until a little while ago. So it almost looks like they just signed him and then fired him, even though that's not what happened.
Exactly. So I mean, that's the way that's the only thing I could see positive in the Chargers going, thinking like, people are so pissed off at the Rams, we need to strike now. But at the end of the day, man, honestly, LA's too expensive. I mean, you've seen those signs, parking $100. You know, parking's like ridiculous up there. There's, it's not what San Diego fans want to spend their money on. I mean, you know, we live in an expensive city, an expensive state, because we have a lot of expensive amenities and a lot of different options of things to do. And no one's going to want to drive up to LA, spend their money on gas, wait in traffic, pay an exorbitant amount of ticket prices, and then pay for ridiculous parking just to go watch a game. Yeah. You know, we want to do that here when the drive is 15, 20 minutes. So when you double that, it's just really a bad call. And I don't know if they're going to go. Like, honestly, I know the deal. I know the deal's just, you know, sounds great, $1. And there's a lot of, like, other upkeeps and other, like, you know, rights for the land and stuff like that. But, you know, just wake me when there's a decision.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, gentlemen, just because you guys touched on the whole traffic aspect and people not traveling to games from San Diego, like every one of you touched on that. As an outsider, I can tell you right now, from living in the Orange County area, which is probably about a good half hour away from where Inglewood is located at, me personally, I would rather drive an hour down to San Diego than drive 30 minutes to Inglewood in the territory of where that stadium is being built to watch a Chargers game. I'm not saying anything as far as it being Homer here. I'm talking about specific location-wise. I would rather spend my gas money driving down to San Diego to enjoy a game in that type of environment than I would driving to Inglewood, Los Angeles to watch a game in that type of environment. So I give no disrespect at all for you guys not saying that you would not drive it. Just imagine the drive home for you guys.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
The coming down alone, but going home on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous to think.
They have a flight from San Diego to LA, right?
That's what they should start doing for those specific type of purposes.
Just get up in the air and land.
I can't blame you guys. I can't blame you guys at all for mentioning the traffic aspects because that's absolutely true, and that's going to have a huge impact on the people that come out to watch Charger games.
So, before we wrap this up, do you? I personally think that ultimately, I've said this the whole time, I really, truly, deep down believe that Spanos wants to build the stadium in San Diego. He wants to stay in San Diego. I'm starting to come around to the fact that the LA option is actually not really an option for him. It's just leverage only. It's just something that he doesn't want to do. However, one thing that I was talking to some people about, and we were talking about the Clippers. The Clippers left San Diego to go up to L.A. to be the redheaded stepchild of L.A. Nobody cared about the Clippers. Nobody gave a damn about the Clippers. Nobody talked about the Clippers. It was a Lakers town. Nobody cared about any of that stuff. But Donald Sterling, when all was said and done, was still a billionaire. And he went up there and he still made plenty of money with a team in L.A. that nobody gave a damn about. And that's the only thing that worries me a little bit is if Spanos really, if the only thing he really cares about is being able to go up there and make money, then whether or not people want him up there, whether or not people are going to go to the games, don't matter because as from what I understand, NFL owners they basically print money. They don't even need to fill their stadiums to make money. Justin, you kind of agree with what I'm saying there on the whole Clippers thing, Clippers analogy?
All I'm going to say is grab your San Diego gear now that says San Diego on it with a bolt because they're gone, dude.
Oh, you think they're gone?
Yeah, they're out of here, dude.
Okay.
They can't stay here. You're not going to play in the stadium anymore for long periods of time. There's no way. Unless, what, and it's going to be another Hail Mary or you're going to do another extension or we're just going to keep it going. At some point, this thing's going to end, guys, and it's going to be crappy for all of us. It's going to be really depressing.
I think the NFL is going to come in and they're going to have a better deal, and they're going to end up building the stadium in Mission Valley. That's what I think is actually going to end up happening.
They should. I agree.
I like the Mission Valley side. That thing was your road glasses were supposed to be broken.
I just don't think the LA option is viable. I just don't think that it's an option that they really want.
It's totally viable. They've already been accepted.
Viable is not the right word. I don't think that they want that. I really don't think they want the LA option.
I think especially with what happened today with them ratifying the agreement with them, coming up with that lease over the period of 30 years rather than 10 years. I think that's a huge woo to try and just get this entire thing done with, to have Spanos come into LA and let's get this thing to go. And I can't disagree with what Justin said. The way that the city politicians have voiced their lack thereof of support and doing it the way that they have done this, there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, nothing's going to be completed by January 15th. So by some miracle, grace of God, who knows, Dean Spanos may want to give it one more shot for one more season. It may even be like a half a year extension, because the more he does this, the more that the Rams are now going to start to complain, because they're not going to be able to sell premium seating. I believe they may have actually came to a deal today to where it says that they could start selling premium seating for theirs, because they weren't able to do it last year because of this whole holdup that there might have been two teams in LA and they had to wait.
Chargers are holding them up.
Correct. So, who knows what's going to happen? But I mean, we may get another luck shot at this. But based off of what's happened thus far, there's no way that we can really believe that the Chargers are going to get something done in San Diego based off of what was happened when we thought we had one last shot last January. And everybody, including Mayor Faulkner, came out publicly and said, let's get this done. And we're still sitting here almost in January yet again having this conversation. Exactly.
Yep, you are right about that. There's been zero progress made. I agree with you. Last thoughts. Hal does say they have no choice if you can't build a stadium in San Diego. I just think I do think the NFL does want the Chargers to stay in San Diego, and I think that they're going to come back with a little bit of a different plan.
I would say if Spanos wants to go the Sterling route and just raise the price of his franchise, go to LA, raise the price and sell it. I know he said he doesn't want to sell, but I mean, he's a businessman, and should we really believe a businessman with what he says?
Right.
Not really true. So I mean, that to me is the most logical thing to leave, sell the team.
He won't sell, dude. If he's smart, he would never sell that.
Yeah, but 10 years ago, people would have said he's never going to leave too.
Yeah, but you never sell an NFL franchise. You can hold on to it, you do, because it will triple, quadruple in value 10, 12, 20 years from now. It's just a gold pit. It's a gold pit. You'd be foolish to give away your franchise, and you keep it in the family.
I mean, the Clippers sold for what, $2 billion?
Yeah, something like that.
Sure, yeah, they're in LA. Yeah.
But he didn't want to sell them, though. He had to.
Yeah, no, I'm saying though, but imagine a football team in LA.
Definitely.
It's going to exceed $2 billion,
Yeah, definitely. No, I just never see that family selling it.
Yeah, so I mean that'd be the most logical step for me. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I'm kind of with Jake here, saying that these things aren't just like smoke screens. There are things happening, and I don't know. It might.
Until it's official, guys, we don't know anything.
Yeah,
but
that is true.
It just pointed towards LA. That's all.
Well, ultimately, I do want to remind everybody the season's been terrible, but we do have a few more precious games left, so we will still be doing our pregame show Sunday morning, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock.
These could be our precious few last games together.
Yeah. So
I mean, not that we might not cover the Chargers
I've already
in LA.
begun our draft show preparations, guys. So, that definitely is not going to be our last show. That's for damn sure.
Well, I'll tell you what. Jake did bring something up a couple weeks ago when he started his draft prep, and I am very seriously considering taking a day or two off from work, getting on the snowmobile, heading up to Jake's place, and doing a show live from his place for the draft. I think that would be a great idea. I know it's a little early to be talking draft, but that's a little teaser.
No, it's not for the Chargers. It's not.
No, it isn't, baby.
That's a little teaser for you guys out there. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Top 10 pick. Here we come.
Ultimately, like I said, I want to remind everybody to join us Sunday mornings, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, pregame show. We'll be talking about this week's game, which we did nothing of today. We didn't really talk about last week's game either. We talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. And once again, join us every Wednesday, 7 o'clock till whenever we decide to finish. Join us in the chat room. We're still trying to figure out. Skype made some weird changes, and so it's real hard for us to take phone calls right now. But we're going to try and get that working again. Hopefully we can get Hal via Skype next time to to more actively instead of starting shit and sitting on the sidelines. I'd like to hear him because he has called into the show and he's been really awesome. Jake, anything else you want to add this week before we go?
No, man, we got. We'll get to turn a page this week. It'll be nice actually watching some bowl games for a lot of the research that I've been doing on draft prospects. I've already kind of been turning the proverbial page on this season anyways. But, we'll be putting out a little bit of things as far as the draft prospects over these next couple of weeks. Excited to get to the computer and start typing some of those things up. But other than that, man, I know that our conversation wasn't the most positive today. But I got to say, I loved hearing a pissed off Justin the way he was.
Yeah, it was great.
And the debate that him and Mikey got in with all of us. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Because we really, and this is what the show has always been about, is that a lot of the time, well, I can't say a lot of the time, maybe 90% of the time, a lot of us agree with one another. Yeah, and right. Season actually has probably brought it out of us to where we actually have to be devil's advocate. And,
sure.
There have been heroes and villains that have been created on this show. People have different perceptions about which one's the good one, which one's the bad one. Who cares? But that's the things that have actually been brought out on this show this year. So I thoroughly enjoy it. It's added another dimension to our shows now. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is great. And Hal certainly standing on the sidelines. He's still in the chat room with us. He's certainly enjoyed it. Mikey, we got some San Diego State. We're not going to go into a whole thing on San Diego State, but they do have a bowl game coming up this weekend. The basketball team, they beat. I don't know. They beat some correspondent school or something a couple times.
They snapped a 3-game skid
by they snapped a 3-game skid by beating a junior college team. So that's awesome. What's going on? Quick preview of the bowl game this weekend. The Chili Con Carne Bowl.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Bowl this weekend.
Are you doing a write up on that, Mikey?
Huh?
Are you doing a write up on that game?
I don't do football, just basketball. But they do play Saturday and against Houston, so it's actually it's supposed to be one of the more evenly matched games. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously Donnell Pumphrey's 107 yards away from the record. And unfortunately Houston's like the top defense against the run, so it's going to be a tough one for him to break it. But I'll be watching on Saturday at 12:30 on ABC.
I'd love to see him get that. I think that would be so awesome to see him get that. When he gets to about 104 yards, don't let the quarterback drop back deep and then fumble the ball. And if he does fumble it, tell him don't worry about recovering it. We don't need you breaking a leg. Justin, any last thoughts before we go this week?
Yeah, Brent Musburger is calling the game on Saturday, and I'm excited about that.
Oh, cool.
He's a national legend.
What channel is it on? I hope it's on Channel 8. I don't think we get
10.
that channel anymore.
ABC is 10 for all your Cox subscribers.
Yeah. Cox Cable might have done us a favor because Channel 8 might be going away tomorrow night, and if it is, we
won't have any more NFL or nothing in this town.
We won't be able to watch the Charger game except on Red Zone, so we'll never get to see them play. Only their defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Oh God, they've totally jaded me. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for being part of the show. We love the spirited debate that Hal brought along. So thank you, Hal. So I'm looking now between now and next Wednesday how we need some more show ideas from you. So we need some more topics to discuss. I know one of the big ones for you has been Antonio Gates. I think we'll be talking about that next week. Antonio Gates does want to play another season. Whether or not the Chargers should stick with him, I think we can talk about that and probably get some pretty interesting thoughts. And until then, San Diego
something tells me we're going to be talking about a lot of the same that we talked about today, but you can only talk about how much this team sucks for so long.
Exactly.
Right. And if you give it to Hal, we're going to be talking about Phillip Rivers again. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, that's because Rivers is going to have a.
I mean, what do you think the Cleveland sports junkies are talking about right now? They've got a terrible
They're
season.
Saying, I can't wait till the Chargers come to town.
Dude, I'm telling you. I'm making my prediction right now. I had people ask me that this morning.
Oh, we're going to lose.
Is Cleveland going to win?
Yes.
Against the Chargers? And I told them, you watch.
Yeah.
Yes,
I said it for
it's
weeks.
going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Team Tank all the way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you guys might be right on that. That sucks, but I think you guys are right.
Team Tank.
Yep. All right, boys. We'll.
Big step for you, Jason. Big step right there.
Yeah, I know. For those of you guys that are going to be with us Sunday morning, we'll see you Sunday. If not, see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yell at us.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smeed, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.